In my hometown of Madison, Alabama, there has been a lot of growth and change since I've been alive. It used to turn left out of the road my neighborhood was situated on, that road in and onto the highway. And you'd have maybe one or two shopping centers, and then it was just a stretch of farmland before you got to the next town. That farmland is mostly gone now, and there's a Target shopping center, and a Public shopping center, and a Costco, and dozens of restaurants, and even a hospital. This coming Christmas, I believe, will be my first holiday season home with the new Costco built, and I am terrified of the traffic that will be on that road. It was already bad before, and then they just kept building on that road and not expanding it. And net, these changes are good. Madison is growing and expanding as Huntsville provides good job opportunities, and the new people need places to buy groceries and to eat. And yet these changes do change the town significantly. When my family moved there when I was 3, it was a one high school and one middle school town. By the time I got to middle and high school, there were 2 of both. And now I believe they were in the process of building a 3rd middle school. Madison used to be a town with really just one side. A nice suburb of Huntsville to live and raise kids in, and it's still that nice suburb, but it has expanded significantly and is a full town in its own right. It's progress and it's growth, but it's different than what came before it. Now, this is a different and yet similar story to the one we come to in the Bible today. Haggai is a short book. It's only 2 chapters, but in its brevity it is incredibly specific. And of all of those names and dates given, we can pretty exactly date it to 520 BCE as sermons that the prophet Haggai spoke to the newly returned from exile Israelites. First, the Babylonian Empire conquered Israel, and then the Assyrians conquered Babylon and Judah, and the Assyrians destroyed the temple in Jerusalem and forced some of them into exile. And now, it's been a long while since the temple was destroyed and the people were forced out, and the Persian Empire has overtaken the Assyrian Empire, and the Persians let the Israelites go home and rebuild and live under the Persian rule, but in their homeland. And so they return home, and they start to rebuild their houses and their communities. But according to Haggai, they are neglecting one thing. They built their houses, but have not finished the walls. They haven't fully rebuilt the temple yet. The foundation of the temple has been remade, but there's still a lot of work to do before it's ready to host festivals and take sacrifices and be the center of religious and public life. And there are some people in the community who remember how the temple used to be in the good old days, when it was standing strong and adorned with fine meadows and artwork, when it was that hub of religious and public life for all of the people. But when they returned, the place is not how they left it. There are discrepancies and tensions between the Jewish people who were allowed to stay and those who were forced into exile and are now returning, and the non-Jewish people who live in the land. Things are not how they used to be, and they will probably never be the same again. And so the Judean and Israelite people are forever marked by this time of conquest and exile. And while they do get to go home and put the pieces back together, it will never be the same exact thing as it was before. Maybe That's not necessarily a bad thing. In this passage, we feel the tension between nostalgia and memory. The people are standing in the rubble, remembering what used to be and wondering where to go from here, how to rebuild. And so the first thing the prophet calls us to do is to look back and to remember. To remember what was, remember the former glory, remember all of the goodness and light and wonderful collective memory and history of the past. God has done good things for God's people, and his temple for centuries was the center of life and worship for the Hebrews. There were good times here, holy moments and memories worth celebrating and cherishing and remembering. And there's also then heartache and pain and challenge as the temple was destroyed along with their city and they were cast out. But now they are home again, making sense of it all. An incredibly hard task in front of the people is to honor the past while also making way for the future. Because while the past was good and important, it is the past and not the future. And so as they stand in the rubble laying the foundations of a new temple and rebuilding their homes, the challenge in front of them is to honor the past by preparing for the future, by rebuilding to bring the people together into a new age. Because this is a new day and a new time, and God is doing something new among the people. And into this holy tension, the prophet Haggai speaks of God, reminding the people of God's eternal and comforting presence in all things. That God has been with them since way back when God brought them out of Egypt, and that God abides in the people still. That God is the one who is shaking up the heavens and the earth and the sea, and that all splendor and greatness belongs to God. So the temple, God's place among the people, will be not just rebuilt, but renewed. And God's ever-abiding peace and presence will be with them to the very end of the age. Things will not be the exact same again, but they will still be good and even better as God continues God's work of redeeming the earth and eternally providing presence and peace to the people. And so, graced by this new vision and strengthened by the Spirit of God within them, the people set out to work and to rebuild the temple together. And in this work, we see the ministry of God being done. Not because it is the temple being built, but because the people are being and doing together, helping neighbor and sharing tools and working together towards this common goal. The temple will not look like it did before, and it does and will look pretty rough while it is being built. And in these building stages, the people have a chance to respond to the memory of what the temple used to be in two ways. They can be discouraged that it doesn't look great and it isn't the same as it used to be and just give up hope and stop. Or they can keep building, prophetically hoping that like God was with them in the past, so too will God be with them in the future. And God is the one who is doing new and great things. New and good things that may be and look different than that past, but are still good and are still God. In our lives, we can be bogged down by memories. Memories of a town that used to be smaller and with less traffic. Memories of once great buildings and areas now fallen into disarray. Memories of family and communities once close, now spread out far and wide. Because the thing about time is that it just keeps on moving. Time keeps moving and things are always changing. and nothing will ever be the same as it once was. The past is honorable, with good memories and good lessons. But it is the past, and it is designed to help spur the future forward and growth. The past can be used to keep us still and stuck, or the past can be used to mine for the hope needed to carry us into the future. As we look in the past and see how God's promises have won true, and we are strengthened in this hope that it is God who is guiding us into the future that we are building as well. This week, the church has been engaging in some building of our own as we are repairing our steeple. Finding exact dates on when things happened in this church is challenging, but one article in the hallway claims that this sanctuary building was built in 1890. You can challenge me on that later, 135 years ago. And I'm not sure when the last time the structure of the steeple was addressed or when it was last messed with, other than we painted this year and then years back we added the electric bell system. And regardless of all those details, that steeple has stood for at least 135 years in this community, signaling this church as a place of Christian community seeking to extend God's love out into the community and beyond. And now we get to tend to the steeple with a faithful prayer that this will be a place to extend God's love to the community for another 135 years and beyond. Now us, like those Israelites under Haggai, know what the past held. But we have no clue what the future holds. What we do know is that those years ahead will look different than the ones who came before. Throughout the church's history, we have adapted and changed along with the times and along with the needs of the community. And the future ahead is different. That same adaptation and change is needed to help this church better help this generation of people. And what that looks like, I'm not sure. I'd love to discuss your ideas. But I do know that God has been doing faithful work in this community and in this church since before this current sanctuary building was built, and that God will continue doing faithful work. And so the call to us today is the same call that Haggai gave to his people. The call to build, and the call to build for the future and not for the past. How can we faithfully remember the past and use that to faithfully and creatively reimagine our future? What are we building in this community and in God's kingdom beyond a steeple renovation? How can we remain faithful to the God who is always faithful to us, but who does call us into growth and change and forward movement? And so, may the God who began a good work in us bring it into completion through the power and peace of the Spirit who forever abides with us. Will you pray with me? Lord, we come to you today trying to be faithful stewards of what you have entrusted us with. And as we sit here in this space, we remember what was. And we give thanks to you for the life and ministry and good works that this church has done through your grace and your presence throughout the years. And so, God, we ask you, help us to take those memories and spur them forward. Help us to know where to go and what to do, how to be your church in this age, serving your people here and now. Lord, would you give us the vision to build, the vision to imagine the future, and the courage and the strength to walk with you in building. God, it's in your name that we pray, that we trust, and that we do all things. Amen.